Evening, yeah, wrong, and welcome to the wrongregation. Um, thank you, Neil. So, welcome. Wednesday evening. Tonight's mission number 299. So, 300 on Sunday with a big announcement coming. That's all I'm going to say. You're going to have to be there on Sunday night. I will get to what we're going to talk about this evening. I mean, it's a bit obvious. Oh, Mandy. Oh, Mandy. You came and you gave without taking. Oh, who's that? Sorry? Sir Keir Starmer. Was at the front door. Why? Oh, he's looking for the local job centre. Ah, right, okay. Just tell him it's right, and then right again. Don't turn left, because it's just full of jealousy. Evening, welcome to the... I can't wait to get into it tonight. Oh my lord, there's so much to talk about. And I was just saying to one of my dear friends earlier, Dean, I said to him, you know, they're flooding the zone so much that I literally can't keep up with all of the news stories all of the time. So I'm having to cherry pick and figure out what I think is going to be front page headlines tomorrow. And it's just going to be full. They're going to be asking for Starmer's head. It's a bit unfortunate using the term head and Starmer in the same sentence. And you've got Mandy, who definitely does, according to Epstein. What? He's still alive? What? Not Mandy. I'm talking about Epstein, for goodness sake. But we'll get into the wrongregation, the parishioners of the parish, and we'll say hello to everyone, and then we'll kind of get stuck into what we're going to talk about. And I will tell you. Let me just let people get into the Starmers. And you know why we call them the Starmers, don't you? Because your backside feels sore after you've used them. I see you. Wonderful thumbnail, Reverend. Oh, thank you. I see you. As does Des. Des goes, like the new station identity, Adrian. I see you. Says Starmer's reaction to the Mandy papers. Lesson learned. Let's move on. Let's not. I get it completely. I see you. Paulie Galtieri, good evening, Adrian. You're Rowan. Hope you've had a good day. It's been a laugh a minute at the Labour Party. And I hear broadcasters, you know, the hand-wringing, mealy-mouthed, oh, I'm left-wing, I'm a champagne socialist, I'm like a multi-millionaire, but I don't give me money away. Don't be silly. No, I wouldn't give it to the community. Talking about how, you know, the left, they never shut up about reform. And now they never shut up about the Greens. They never shut up about anybody that has anything to say against the evil that is left-wing politics. I mean, I do hope that Jeremy Corbyn and his little sultana managed to make a go of their little political party. But that's multi-millionaire, Jeremy Corbyn, before you ask. I don't know how these Labour politicians end up multi-millionaires. I don't. Because you would think, like Dennis Skinner, the beast of Bolsover, he used to give away some of his MP's wage to, I think it was miners charities or something. So Dennis was a good man in my book until he started shagging somebody behind his wife's back, and then he's like everybody else, thinks with his dick, or did. Did I say that out loud? So the left are just... I want to know if what Sir Keir Starmer's fortune stands at currently, because I am going to give it to him tight tonight. Let me elucidate in a little while. But tonight, the front page of every single newspapers tomorrow, I haven't seen them, so I don't know, but I'm hedging me bets. It's the Mandelson Files. As somebody stood up in the House of Commons today and said it's the British Epstein Files. Are they dim or something, these politicians? It's not the Epstein Files. It's the Mandy Mandelson Files. Because he, the Prince of Darkness, has a lot to answer for. We are going to talk about him, so that's number one out the block. Here we go. We'll do the Mandelson thing. But we'll talk political power. We'll talk about the dark side of the Prince of Darkness. We'll talk about judgment and the Epstein shadow. We're also going to talk about liability Lammy and the jury trials, because you'll notice they had the vote last night, which was so late that the newspapers couldn't carry it today. And the newspapers are not going to carry it on Wednesday because they're carrying the Mandelson Files. But I'm not letting that fat twat get away with it. Oh, did I say that out loud? Liability Lammy. Couldn't be any more stupid if he had his brains bashed in. I'm not suggesting you do. Obviously, it's a metaphorical term. But Lammy and the jury trials. The constitutional debate over the future of British justice. We'll talk about that. We'll give you the main takeaways. Going to talk about Iran's new supreme leader or not. Is he legless? Is he not? He don't. Well, we'll leave it at that. So we'll talk about the power struggle inside a regime of war. We'll talk about the Strait of Hormuz and oil. How global conflict reaches British wallets. And if I can get to it, if we don't have time tonight to get to it, then I will get to it in a separate video tomorrow. The Falklands. Put on your radar. I'll explain later. So, Stuart, so Paulie Galtieri, I see you, and Des, welcome to the body of the Kirk. Make sure you're comfortable. Make sure you've got your 3 Battenberg, your cushions, and your altar wine, just a little snifter, because it's like Buckfast, just stronger. Stuart says, evening, Adrian. Love the thumbnail on the live. Really cool. Wow, the Starmers are very shiny. Her sister Mary been polishing again. I hear she loves a good polish. I think she's a guitar player because she keeps telling to me, she keeps saying to me she's off for a strum. And Stuart also says, just to let you know, Rev, I think YouTube is censoring the name of the drink I put in your hibiscus. Anytime I type it, I don't think it shows up on your screen, but I can see it on my phone. They're at it again. Well, we can't use the word bomb because that takes us into a whole world of pain. But we'll just have to just call it skiers breakfast or something. I know what you're talking about. I can say it, but you can't type it in the chat for some inexplicable reason. What's that? Jazz hands? Rev, what's going on? Evening, Stuart. Welcome to the body of the Kirkman. David Graham says, evening all. Well, the new Adrian Allen logo with a light bulb is great. Also changing is the government wanting to remove Winston Churchill on the £5 note and replace him with nature's animals. Blimey. There's a gag there somewhere. Maybe for another evening. They're taking old Winston off the £5 note. Bunch of tarts. David also says, blimey, wouldn't be surprised if King Charles the Weak had something to say about maybe replacing Churchill for nature animals like otters on the current £5 note. What is it? A wet otter's pocket? You can put that on a fiver. It's worth more than a fiver, but otters be blowed. Is it to stop everybody else from kind of like coming up with forgeries? By the way, Spurs got a hammering in the Champions League yesterday in Madrid. How long will Igor Tudor last as Spurs manager? I think the owners have more to say, well, have more to answer for than the actual manager. I mean, the goalie, they were slipping all over the place last night. First 2 goals, goalie, 2 howlers, and then one of the defenders, who's normally really good, he slipped over, and Atletico Madrid were just laughing themselves to their sangria after the game. So Spurs playing Championship football next year. Absolutely. If West Ham can pull off a couple of wins, there you go. Spurs go down. Not from what I heard. Talblock Tracy, that new thumbnail is excellent. Thank you for everybody's kind words. We just it's a soft launch, but I have to say thank you to the Scarlet Pimpernel as ever for his kindness and his inspiration. No, I'm not telling you who the Scarlet Pimpernel is. He's a bloke. Swashbuckling. Swordsman. David Graham again. So, Adrian reaches show 300 this Sunday. Interesting stuff. Yeah. Mission 299 tonight. Let me see how many he's got. Feet under the table. Okay. And question. Should the government replace Churchill on the £5 note or not? Should we do that to open the show? Sorry, it's not a show, it's a mission. You're wrong. Should we ask that question to start? I'm waiting for everybody to get their feet in the Starmers. Once we get 100, off we go. Les Griffiths says, replace Churchill. Why? I don't want them to. Fiver, blue one. Comic Mania, evening all, yeah. Wrong ones. Anyone else think that Neil McCoy Ward is a doom-mongering prat? Who's Neil McCoy Ward? Is that a spokesperson? Les Griffiths, comic. Who is he? That's me and Les. We don't know who he is either. Comic Mania, Les. Hang on, I've gone too far down. Story of my life. Les Griffiths. Lammy's IQ is smaller than his shoe size. Wasn't that a Prince lyric? Act your age, not your shoe size. Was that it was, wasn't it? Marcia Thomas. Marcia, welcome to the body of the Kirk. Good to see you in body of Kirk. Marcia, welcome. Stephen Hall, evening Adrian. Good evening, Peter Sadler. Evening Adrian and everyone. Are you doing a quiz on the 300 live, Rev? Says Stuart. Ooh. Right, there's another question. We've got the Churchill question. I'm only waiting till past, and then I'm going to bombard you with it. Where are we? Oh, we're not far away. Yeah. Soul Rebel, you watched Andrew Bridgen on Liam Tuff's aid? Ted Heath indeed. What, has he been chugging rent boys over the side of his boat in the channel? No, I haven't, actually. I haven't. In the field, evening Adrian and Chatters and Lewis, evening all. Garen Davis, good evening. The Bad Wolf Project, 574,000 GoFundMe for Mandy. Oh, we are going to talk about that. He only got 70. Well, they were talking in the chamber. They were saying 70,000, but the BBC were reporting 75,000. But he asked for 574,000 to pay off when he was told Foxtrot Oscar. I'm going to explain it. We're going to do layers. We're going to have a deep dive because I want you fully briefed and decoded for what's kicking off in the morning. The front page of all the papers are going to go nuts. And where's Starmer going? The Dole office. Evening Reverend Crew, says Dolby, and Louise Hampson's in the body of the Kirk. Evening Louise. Evening all. Phil the Van. Good evening Vietnam. Paulie Galtieri, evening all. Bloody hell, Paulie, twice. Hello. What's all this here then, says Napoleon blown apart. It's the end of a prime ministerial ship, Napoleon blown apart. I can't stop laughing. I literally can't stop laughing. The man is like, seemingly, he's got a brain the size of 3 planets, Uranus. And he today at PMQs, oh, there was an aggressive woman opposite him. She wasn't very happy. And he was just like trying to make it out that he was Johnny Big Bollocks. And what's he going to take a train and take some Coca-Cola with him? My nose is running. What? And well, Bay City Rollers, Sakia. Bye, baby. Goodbye. Did I say that out loud? I'm just laughing at my own gag. Shut up. He comments on mostly financial stuff, also trying to sell his own get-rich-quick packages. He's been around for a long time. Oh, right, okay. No, I didn't know who he was. Right. I was going to ask you 2 questions. Right. One for yes. Let me just get rid of this. What does it say? I can't see it. Hang on. inside the Russian bubble. Oh yeah, because Putin wants in. Putin wants into Iran. Putin is like, don't worry, lads, don't worry, because he talks like that. He's from Wigan. We'll sort out the oil and we'll sort out the gas. Who wants some? Who wants some? And the Chinese are going, me, or whatever Chinese or Mandarin is for me. And the Venezuelans are going, are you flogging our oil, bastards? And then America's going, we'll take it all. Vladimir, we'll take it all. He wants in, says Putin. Hang on, I'm just going to get rid of that. I've got a steak, so just give me the amber nectar. Oh, that's so good. That's going to steam my glasses up. So, 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for I don't know. Should we take Winston off the fiver? 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for I'm not sure. If you're in doubt. So, should we take Winston off the fiver? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Do you want a picture of a pussy or a picture of an owl or a picture of a growler? Ginger one if you want. You can have something sort of wildlifey. So, Amalia, what do you mean? Des Ashton 5. You're wrong. Napoleon Bonaparte. Yes. Well, it's not going to be on American. Dallas, the Benjamins, the Greenbacks. Enjoy your skier's breakfast, Rev. Thank you, Stuart. It's in there and it's not coming out, said the vicar. Oi, to the bishop. Bishop to the actress. So, let's have a look. So the question is, should we get Winston off the fiver? 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for I don't know. Millie Brain says Rich is pulling the strings behind the scenes. Him and Blair, but Blair's not very happy. He's not at the epicenter. I heard that he was very, very ill. He's not showed himself, has he? Well, he's not been on Clapham Common for a while. Phil Levan, there's been a freeze on petrol. It's gone up from 129 a litre to 136. I think Starmer's full of shit. He's not full of it now. I think what's going on behind the scenes has definitely cured his constipation. Right, we're over 100. He's off to the Dáil office, and it won't be long. He's not going to last till the local elections because they know Labour. No, they know they're not bloody stupid. Well, they are. They know that if they've got Starmer in charge for the local elections in May, the Labour Party will be no more. It's over, it's done, it's finished. So they're using Mandy Mandelson because I'm telling you this, Mandy's not going to sit there and take it. He might bend over and take it, but he's not going to sit there and take it. And he'll turn right, and he's going to have his revenge. It's not going to be a dish served cold. It'll just come straight off the stove. What do you think that's what they do all day? They knife each other in the front. Politically, I'm not talking, literally here. I'm metaphorically, they're politicians. That's what they do. They just eviscerate each other and have fun doing it. That's why Ginger Growler was deputy no more. But I will say this. If Starmer, for whatever reason, resigns, and he doesn't want to, but somebody's going to have a word in his shell like that. Oh, here, mate, resign. It's time. Step back. The Labour Party and all the work that you've done, the Labour Party is in fine fettle. Just resign and had away and shite, man. I'm going nowhere. My father was a tool maker. We know, Keir, we know. We've seen evidence of that every day while you're being Prime Minister. So can you just hard away and shite, man, and leave us to run the country because we'll be quite good at it. You're evidently inept. Bye-bye. So, right, vote. Sorry, I'm getting carried away with myself. Kaz says, no! Matthew Whedon, you could make a horror film and call it The Curse of Peter Mandelson. Oh, very good, very good. Would it be Carry On Up the Khyber? Reg D, Dolby, Les Griffiths and Rich and Comic Mania, and I See You and the Old Bovril and Davey Bevan and Nigel Lister and Albert Metcalf and Lewis and Matthew Whedon and Peter Sadler and Louise Hampson and Peter Reeves Jones and Amali went, I don't know. Thing Mean Wing Mean Names and Elliot and In the Field and Dave Warrington, stop laughing. Des Ashton, he's not unsure. It's Wednesday, Des. It's Wednesday. They're going to bring your meal along in just a little while. And Peter Conway and Pete. It's all right, Des is me mate, man. And Alison and Stuart and Marcia Toms and Big Paul. I've heard the rumours and the Bad Wolf Project. And Karina, to round it off, all saying no. So nobody wants Winston off the fiver. And can you imagine? They're only doing it to distract you. That's all they're doing it for. The Blair Witch Mandelson horror show with Starmer as Lurch. Very good, Comic Mania. Stephen Hall, Christopher Lee could have played Mandelson in a horror movie. Wasn't Christopher Lee some kind of swashbuckling, daring-do member of the army and a spy and could speak 20 languages? And Christopher Lee was certainly a story to behold. Evening, Rev. Evening, Peter Christie. What you taking your time? You're missing all the fun and excitement. Fatal Racing Driver. Hello, Fatal Racing Driver. And you're on top form tonight, says Karina. Somebody been putting some Skiers breakfast in me hibiscus. Amber nectar. Yeah, wrong one. I can't wait to get into this. So you're going to have to pay attention tonight. There's got to be lots of interactions. I've got at least 10 or 9 questions I want to ask you. So, are you sitting comfortably? Have you got your cushion and your Battenberg and your altar wine? As I say, be gentle with the altar wine. It's stronger than a bottle of Bucky. So, it's dangerous territory if you start necking that. Proper neck oil. Evening, Adrian and all, says Ian McGee. Ian's, do anybody want to tell him what we've been up to? Fang man names. I came across a lady in the garage. Oh, you mucky tart. I hope you wiped her down afterwards. Who said, Starmer is doing a good job. I did not know what to say. I was so shocked. I would have said, out! Get out! What do you mean? Just get out! Foxtrot Oscar! Hadaway and shite, man. We don't allow your kind in here. Mind you, would you have got arrested? She might have been in a state of fear and alarm. Theo Bovril, listen with Rev. If you're sitting comfortably, today we're going to look through the round window. Got me whoopee cushion. Oh, it's you, Comic Mania. We wondered where those nocturnal emissions were coming from. I've only got an ox tongue sandwich, says Lionel. Anybody want to swap? I've only got ham. I'm not sure about that. Mind you, I prefer a pork sandwich. Because I do, I have special implements for varying meals, being a bit of a bon vivant. And I have a special knife for cutting pork. Because, cloven hoof and all that. Well, it's not really a knife. It's kind of a big knife. Well, it's not really a knife. It's more a sword. I tend to get my pork sword out every now and again and give it a bit of a polish. You Bovril. The AI Jeremy Clarkson video is hilarious. Which one's that, Stuart? I haven't seen that one. Shh. Pipe down. Just nosh on your Battenberg and let me get into where we're going this evening. Shall I start the bus? I'll drive. You just sit there and see all of the lovely flora and fauna as we drive past. And we might pass Sir Keir Starmer on his way to the job centre. So tonight, you and I learned something extraordinary. The British government warned the Prime Minister about Peter Mandelson, and he appointed him anyway. At the same time, in Tehran, a man almost nobody has seen has just become the most powerful cleric in the Middle East. 2 men, 2 systems of power. And both stories raise the same question. Who is really running the show? So tonight we begin with a simple question. If a prime minister is warned about a political figure and that political figure's associations and reputational risks, and then appoints them anyway, is that bad judgment or something a bit more serious? Hang on. Oh, yes. Thank you, Stuart. The one where he took Starmer out of his pub. I bet everybody wishes they could do that. So I'm going to ask you. That was a legitimate question. I'm going to ask you. I told you it was going to be very interactive this evening. 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for... So, appointing Mandelson, in your view, was that bad judgment or something more serious? 1, bad judgment. 2, serious failure of leadership. I call it ineptitude. 3, something deeper we don't yet understand. So is it 1, bad judgment, 2, serious failure of leadership, or 3, something deeper that we don't understand yet? Oi, love the conspiracy theories. Gary Shabot and Fatal Racing Driver, Paul Morton and Dreamer, and Peter Rees-Jones, Phil the Van 2 and 3, 3. In the field, 3, but hang on, 3, but I think we kind of get it. Don't think Starmer is. But he hasn't been anywhere near the wife for years. Hang on, Lauren Taylor. Evening, Lauren. Good to see you early. Evening all. Everyone in Britain knew Mandy was a bad bugger. So 3. Thank you, Lauren. And there's a definitely bad judgment and bad leadership, says Louise Hampson. Lauren Taylor. Evening all. Oh, sorry. I've already said that. So, Karina, 2 and 3. Lewis, 2. Legalista, 3. Overall, 3. Stuart, 3. Everybody's going something deeper we don't yet understand. Hello, Kia. Here's your P45. Now, how do we end shite down to the job centre? Because we don't want you anymore. What do you mean, what's David Beckham doing in this particular sketch? I've no bloody idea either. Big Paul, 3. Enver, 3. Des Ashton, 3. Tom Arnie's 3. Bovril. Starmer is missing his rent, boys. Do they go around and collect it for him? I don't think he's a landlord, do you? Should we call him Landlord Starmer? Yeah, let's call him the landlord. That way we can get away with calling them rent, boys. That or gerbils. We just know him as Peter. Paulie, you're wrong. We just know him as Peter File. Birds of a feather, in my view. Starmer couldn't make a correct decision if his life depended on it. Have you seen the clip yet of today's PMQs where Kemi's having a go and he stood up and he talked about Kemi Badenoch doing a U-turn, and I could feel the whole of the House of Commons turning and looking at him going, what? What the bloody hell are you talking about, man? 15 U-turns and you're pointing the finger at her. Oh, dear Lord, my incontinence pants, it was such a mess. In the field, the Bovril. Wonder if Mandy will still be supplying the rent, boys. Well, as I've told you before, Jeffrey Epstein liked having sex with men and women. So the defence, I'm a gay man, lovely. Not a defence. Because he thinks that everybody's going to go, well, Epstein was shagging girls. No, Epstein, any hole was a goal. Didn't you work that one out? So the question I asked you, was it bad judgment or something much more serious? I asked you 1 for bad judgment. Not one of you said it was bad judgment. 2, Serious failure of leadership. Some believed that it was that, but I think it was easily 80% something deeper we don't yet understand. Oh, we'll get to that. We will understand that. And that's what I'm going to bring you this evening. That's why I'm going to decode it tonight. So you're going to get the insight, the context, and the understanding before we get anywhere near the morning papers. Oh, London's going to be such a buzz. So we were told it was going to be 2:30 on the BBC, and then just after 2 o'clock there was this scramble. Oh, we're going to go to Westminster. We're going to go to Westminster. Oh, they've released them early. Well, they kind of said they were releasing them early, but the Tories didn't get it until 23 minutes before the Labour Party was actually going to give the speech in the presentation in the House of Commons. 23 minutes for 135 pages. Because, look, if anything, that's an admission of guilt, because they don't want the opposition or the other political parties and the bandwagon jumpers. Who am I talking about? Ed Davey. Hello, Ed. Another bandwagon you're going to jump on, mate, because you've got no fucking relevance. So, 135 pages. They had 23 minutes to give it a flick, give it a flick, give it a flick. You'd be strumming with Sister Mary next. And they all complained. And I heard the private secretary to the Prime Minister on LBC this morning. Dull as, dear Lord. What does he use his personality for? Contraception. Where was the Prime Minister today? Has he gone into hiding? Or is he is he being given special privileges down at the job centre? Signing on. What's your name? Sir Keir Starmer. Well, we haven't got many jobs for Prime Ministers. In fact, we've got no jobs in for the Prime Minister, so you might have to wait a while. Have you not got anything for, like, MPs? Not unless they're in jail, no. Well, we can't talk about the process of law, but then again, nobody's being charged, which is why they've released them today. Because you do realise that if Mandy Mandelson had been charged with anything, they wouldn't have been able to release the files today. So they've released the files. The charges may come in due course, but they are negotiating, or seemingly they're in communication with the Met Police. And they've had to redact just one file. Just the one. So the first documents, we were told it was going to be 2:30. Turned out it was about 10 past. Almighty scramble. We told they were going to be released today. And all of my friend circles... Stuart, you're wrong. Stuart says, Sir Keir Starmer, his next job could be in a supermarket. He could be a backdoor man. Legitimate job in a supermarket. Go ask them. Can I be your backdoor man? Who do you think you are? Led Bloody Zeppelin? So the documents landed just after 2 o'clock, and they contained something politically explosive. Now, Starmer was warned. It's in writing. He was warned, and he ignored the warning. So the government's due diligence documents warn Sir Keir Starmer about Peter Mandelson's links to Jeffrey Epstein before appointing him ambassador to Washington. So the files say officials flagged Mandelson's continued contact with Epstein after his conviction, reputational and national security risks, and concerns raised by the National Security Advisor. Now, despite those warnings, Starmer appointed him anyway. Starmer's gone. He's gone. The appointment process itself was described internally as weirdly rushed. Now, I will tell you, this is how politics work. All of it. Worldwide. They have stuff on you until they need to use it. And at the point they have the stuff on you and they use it, when they tell you to jump, he says, how high? So I've repeatedly told you since that man was appointed Prime Minister, what have they got on Starmer? Which means that every single time they tell him to jump, he says, how high? He becomes compliant. So who told Starmer to appoint Mandy? Was it Mandy himself? But there is, you know me, the cynical old tart goes right for the darker thread underneath. What am I talking about? Well, the story that could explode tomorrow isn't just Epstein. It's this. Mandelson allegedly shared sensitive information. And investigators are examining whether Mandelson shared confidential government information with Epstein during his time as business secretary. So, for fact, Mandy Mandelson has been arrested and questioned by police. He's under investigation for misconduct in public office, but I must reiterate, there are no charges yet. So why could this become a real bombshell for the whole political process, the whole political classes, or the parasitical classes as I call them? Because the narrative chain is brutal. The Epstein network, British cabinet minister, US ambassador, and potential information leaks. And the files also reference concerns about Mandelson's links to China and Russia, which raised further security concerns amongst officials. So if even a fraction of that develops into evidence, the question tomorrow becomes, did Britain appoint a man with national security vulnerabilities to its most sensitive diplomatic post? That is front page material across the UK tomorrow. So do you want the Mandelson story so you can fit in the blanks and rearrange your jigsaw before the newspapers tomorrow morning? So the Mandelson story, the full narrative field. This is almost certainly the dominant UK political story moving into tomorrow's front papers. I would even say this is going to develop into a political scandal that will rival Profumo in the early 60s. I mean, we've had a few. We've had MPs auto asphyxiation with satsumas in their gob, wearing stockings and suspenders. We've had MPs appear at the garden gate with their wife and kids after spanking rent boys, high on coke. We've had useless, fat, inept MPs that have been shagging rent boys and being off their tits on coke. All of that, and all of that, Paddy Pants down, shagging his secretary. There was Cecil, what's his face? Banging his secretary and her having a child to him, Cecil Parkinson. They're paling into insignificance. I mean, even Thatcher doing what Thatcher did, nicking my milk. It's all just dissolving before our eyes. And the gold standard for scandal since Profumo is going to be the Mandy Mandelson affair. By a country mile. So that's front pages tomorrow, but there are 4 layers to this story. So I'll go through them very quickly. Layer 1, it's the Epstein Association. He literally can't get away from it because everybody's seeing the pictures online. Everybody's seeing the pictures in social media. So the documents released today indicate that officials warned Downing Street that Peter Mandelson's past relationship with Jeffrey Epstein created reputational risk. Important details being reported that Mandy Mandelson had multiple meetings with Epstein after Epstein's 2008 conviction. But what I want to know is, how many times did Tony Blair go on the Lolita Express? How many times did Tony Blair have meetings with Jeffrey Epstein brokered by Mandy? Just asking for a friend. Because he's ducking. When the shit's flying, all those that know, they've got their heads down in their shoulders. There was also internal advisors warning of political and security optics. How it looks. The warnings were raised before Mandelson was appointed ambassador to Washington, a long time. Now that creates a brutal political question. Why appoint him Anyway, what did Mandy have on Starmer that meant Starmer went, not a problem, mate, not a problem. I'll give you the American ambassador's job. You see, that's the headline that the journos are going to be pushing tomorrow morning. Why appoint him anyway? Layer 2, the appointment process. Now, they've tried to circumnavigate this by saying we've changed the process, we've tightened the process, we've made the process more appropriate and proportionate, and my word's not theirs, but they've looked at the appointment process and they've made it tighter and harder to get in. There's nothing better than tighter and harder, let me tell you. So officials reportedly described the appointment as rushed, which raises a deeper Westminster question. Was due diligence ignored or overridden? And my question is, by whom? If so, responsibility lands squarely at the top of government. You know whose desk that is, don't you?
Hello, Kia, it's the Donald. You're in the shite, mate. Told you we'd get you back.
So, the clean framing is this. This is not about Mandelson's past. It's about the decision-making inside Number 10. So what you'll get is all this noise, all this panic and furore is a good word, a political furore in the morning. And Mandy's just going to sidestep that because he's a Prince of Darkness. He's a fan of Machiavelli. He knows what he's doing. And it's just going to leave Starmer under the spotlight. And the questions are going to be asked about his decision-making processes. And he'll blame Morgan McSweeney, but he's gone. So were they trying to get rid of people just to protect the Prime Minister? Obviously, that's how politics work. But let's get to layer 3. It's the security concerns. This is where the story gets darker. So behind the Epstein angle are national security concerns that were flagged internally. And they included Mandelson's long international network of contacts, historical relationships with wealthy global financiers, and concerns about perception and vulnerability. So the difference between perception and reality. The reality is the brown stuff is hitting the fan in Westminster. The perception is that everybody outside of Westminster think they're as guilty as sin and corrupt. Either way, off to the job centre, mate. So even if no wrongdoing exists, intelligence officials often worry about the leverage risk. The intelligence language that means compromise potential. This is where the phrase national security risk begins appearing in commentary. That phrase alone will drive tomorrow's headline. And layer 4, the Washington dimension. So here's the part most people haven't connected yet. The UK ambassador to Washington sits in one of the most sensitive diplomatic posts Britain has. They sit alongside and inside discussions involving NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, intelligence sharing, Five Eyes, military strategy, tech security, MI5, CIA, which means critics will ask, did Britain knowingly place a politically exposed figure in its most sensitive diplomatic job? That is the angle political editors are circling tonight. But let me give you the real political danger. The danger isn't Mandelson personally. It's the judgment question for the Prime Minister. If warnings existed and were ignored, opposition parties will frame the story as Downing Street ignored security concerns. That's front page language. I'm telling you, it's going to be the biggest scandal, political scandal, since Profumo. So let's get, give me a second, I'm just going to toggle through, oh, come on, where is it? Is it that? Is it that? Is it that? It's that. It is. I'm just going to, I've got some questions I want to ask you. Is that it? No, it's not. Is it that? Oh dear. You're going to have to excuse me a moment because I've dropped a boo-boo and I need to get to it before we continue. And is it that? Let's have a look. Come on, hurry up. Let me get to some of your comments, because knowing my luck, my computer's not going to work. Stephen Hall says Mandelson has something on Starmer. Enver says maybe it was just payback. Mandelson got Starmer elected to leader, so Starmer paid him back with a US job. There is that, of course. Right, let's get to this. As ever, the questions that I'm going to ask all tonight, it's going to be 1 for yes, unless otherwise indicated, 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 for not sure, Rev, not sure. So let's get to so it's a really simple question. Did Sir Keir Starmer make a serious error appointing Mandelson despite the warnings? 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for actually too early to say. So did Starmer make a serious error appointing Mandelson despite all of the warnings he was given? 1, yes, 2, no, 3 for too early to say at the moment, Rev. Honestly, I just love the congregation. There's absolutely no BS to you at all. Just straight up and down, tell it like it is. Des Ashton, they will publish what their masters tell them to. Very good take. Comic Mania, every judgment Starmer has made has been bad. And Les Griffiths, why did people think a shite DPP would make a good PM? Manchurian candidate, Les. And the U-Bovril, still 8 questions to go. Lewis said, good point, Les. Don't vote then. Cuban Pete, Napoleon Bonaparte, Karina, Lewis, Comic Mania, Gary Shabot, Catwoman Jones, Geordie Nicholas. Sorry about last night, Geordie Nicholas. Nathan Diamond, David Bevan, Davey Bevan, and Lionel, and Matthew Whedon, Albert Medcalf, Reg D, Phil Levan, Dave Warrington, Mad Matt UK, Ian McGee, Tom Harneys, Stuart. Was that Pauline Makepeace? I think it was. Yes, and Dreamer, Garen Davis, Barry Wright, Allison, Robert Norman, Ligger Lister, Fatal Racing Driver, Raiden Des Ashton, all said yes. The thing is, though, there is something else. There's something else that they daren't go anywhere near. They daren't. It's called the Palantir angle. So you see, this is where I can show you, because I've got a half-decent memory, that I'm ahead of the curve. They absolutely, categorically will not report this tomorrow. Categorically. Palantir have been given nearly £1 billion in British government contracts, building digital ID, the infrastructure for digital ID, which you will take whether you like it or not. They're going to bend you over and stick it right up your derriere because you didn't see it coming. I'm not judging anyone, but I have continually tried to warn you. So there is a key connection that, look, they try to sweep it under the carpet so that you don't pay attention to anything. They sweep it under the carpet so you don't realise that there's something very important there. No, we're just going to sweep it under the carpet. February 2025. Are you aware that Sir Keir Starmer, they're now framing it as informal? That was a British Prime Minister on American soil. whilst he's on American soil as British Prime Minister, in my view, there's no bloody such thing as informal. Peter Mandelson reportedly helped arrange a meeting between Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer and executives from Palantir. And afterwards, Palantir got nearly £1 billion worth of government contracts to build the infrastructure. Now, Palantir is not just a tech company. It is deeply, deeply, deeply embedded in intelligence data analysis, military systems, predictive policing technology, facial recognition, anyone? Counter-terror infrastructure. And the company has major contracts with the Pentagon, NATO partners, Western intelligence agencies, and has been for a while pursuing large UK government contracts. Now, why some critics might actually find that interesting, because the timeline looks like this. Mandelson helps facilitate political access. Palantir strengthens UK government ties. Major contracts follow. Now, to be clear, that does not prove any wrongdoing. I'm not asserting wrongdoing in any way, shape, or form. But politically, it raises this question. Who benefits from proximity to power? And just remember, while you're reading it, I've decoded it for you this evening. Forget the bluff and bluster. Forget the noise. Forget the chaos. Just remember this one question. Who benefits, who has benefited from proximity to power? Now, the Mandelson story raises questions about judgment at the very, very, very top of government. But tonight there's another debate unfolding in Westminster that touches something even deeper. You muggy tart. Not diplomacy, not personalities, they haven't got one, but the very foundations of British justice. Because last night MPs voted on proposals that could allow certain criminal cases to be heard without a jury. I understand that it's up to, if the case carries a jail sentence of up to 3 years, it'll be the judge that views it. Now, my worry is that this will not only open judges to scrutiny, but it could be seen for corruption. Now, supporters say this is about one thing: speed. The courts are drowning in cases. Victims are waiting years for justice. One of the MPs stepped forward in the debate and said, I was raped. And there are many, many, many other victims that are waiting far too long for justice. But critics of all of this are saying something else entirely. They say once you begin removing juries from criminal trials, you start pulling at one of the oldest threads in the fabric of British liberty. Trial by jury is not just a legal process, it is the idea that ordinary citizens, not the state, ultimately decide guilt. So tonight we move from the question of political judgment to a much, much older question. Who should decide justice in Britain? The people or the system? So I'm going to ask you the question. You, the jury, I'm going to ask you the question. Who should decide justice in Britain? 1, the people. 2, the system. Or 3, some ne'er-do-wells and you haven't quite worked it out yet. Who should decide justice in Britain? The people, your peers, or the system, the judges? 3, I don't know. Me head hurts. So let's have a look at I'd be a terrible jury member. I find anyone guilty if they looked a bit shifty, says I see you. I will ask a second question about who's done jury duty. In all my years on this spinning orb, I've never once been asked to be a jury member of anything. I don't know many people that have. Anyway, the original question: who should decide justice in Britain? The people, 1. 2, the system, which would mean the judges, or 3, you're unsure. So let's have a look at the vote. Literally almost 100%. We the public says Fing Ming 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 Ming. Fing Ming 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 Ming. 1. Gary Shabot. 1. Comic Mania. Reg D. Pauline Makepeace. Penny Hen. Evening, Penny. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. Alison. Albert Metcalf. Bovril. Des Ashton. Matt Whedon. Peter Reese Jones. Karina. Catwoman Jones. Paul West. Cuban Pete. Dreamer. Dave Warrington. Lewis. Davey Bevan. Stuart. God blimey. Ian McGee. Amalia. Peter Conway. Garen Davis. Mad Matt UK. Every single one said the people. So, Liability Lammy, he might be in the brown stuff. He might be in the doo-doo. So it looks like everybody in the body of the Kirk tonight has said the people, the jury, trial by jury. So let's widen the lens for a moment. Because the Mandelson story isn't just about one politician or one scandal or one appointment. I mean, the frightening thing is, if Sir Keir Starmer's sent packing and he's off to the job centre, you know who's going to take over, don't you? The deputy, Liability Lammy. I've had lunches with more IQ points than him. So it raises a much, much, much bigger question. Who really sits at the table where decisions are made? And increasingly, that table doesn't just include governments anymore. It includes technology companies, Palantir, Meta, companies that hold the data, the algorithms, and the analytical tools that modern states now rely on. One of those companies, as I keep telling you tonight, is Palantir Technologies. Now, if that name rings a bell, it should. Palantir is not a social media company. It's not a consumer tech company. It's something far more interesting. It's a data intelligence company. Its software is used to analyze massive data sets, intelligence data, battlefield information, counter-terrorism databases, policing information, facial recognition, financial patterns. In other words, Palantir doesn't sell gadgets. It sells insight. The systems have been used by the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, the United States Department of Defense, and numerous Western intelligence and security agencies. And one of the men who created it is Peter Thiel. Now that's where the story becomes, I'll loosely use this, fascinating. Because Peter Thiel is not just a Silicon Valley entrepreneur, he was also one of the early founders of PayPal, alongside Elon Musk, which means the origin story of modern financial technology intersects directly with the architecture of modern intelligence analysis. Money, data, power. Now bring that back to Britain. As I said a little earlier, reports suggest in early 25, it was February 2025, a meeting took place involving Sir Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, and representatives connected to Palantir. Peter Mandelson was the fixer. Now, there's no evidence of wrongdoing. Governments meet technology firms all of the time. They have to, because modern government runs on data. But here's another question that democratic societies always have to ask. When the state relies on private technology companies for intelligence systems, who ultimately holds the power? Because data is the new strategic resource. Not oil, not gold. Data. The ability to analyze millions of patterns instantly, the ability to predict behavior, the ability to identify threats before they emerge. That's what Palantir sells. And that's what we do here on the Theatre of the Mind missions. We decode it all so that you get an understanding. But if Palantir sells data, that's why governments across the West are signing enormous contracts with companies like this. The first one was 150 million or 250 million, and then there was a second contract for 750 million pounds. So these types of companies are looking after health systems, defense departments, public forces, border control agencies. The modern state is becoming a data-driven organism. And the government needs companies like this. Why? Because they're building the cage, prison, if you will, that you will never, ever escape from. They say, I heard the Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister today saying, oh, well, eventually by 2029, you're going to have to digitally prove who you are. I'll shove that where the sun don't shine. So digitally, I've just proved who I am. And then Nick Ferrari says, so what about my driving license? Oh, well, that'll go into the app. What app? The digital ID app. I thought you said we weren't going to have it. We're going to have the People's Panel. We're going to have a People's Panel, and the People's Panel will decide what advice to give to the government. And Ferrari said, so, but what about me passport? Oh, yeah, you'll need a passport. So I won't need a driving license. No, you'll need a driving license. It'll just be part of the app. And I thought, Ferrari's running rings around this boy. Because he's saying, look, just take digital ID. Why worry about it? You'll have the NHS app in there. You'll have your driving license. You'll have everything. You'll be able to get access to all the government's bits and pieces. And they are saying there's a period of consultation, and this is vitally important. Period of consultation. The People's Panel there'll be 100 people. This is a focus group. This is government by focus group. Do not let them tell you that it's the People's Panel. It's like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory where you might get the golden ticket. Now, I'm going to have to moderate my language because this makes me apoplectic with rage. They're lying. They're lying. They're trying every which way. Oh, it's the illegal migrants. It's the illegal. Yeah, we'll stop them. We'll stop the boats. We'll bring in digital ID. And the public went, you'll do what? We'll bring digital ID in. It'll stop everybody in the boats. And the public just laughed their caps off at the politicians. And the politicians thought, well, that one's not going to work. So they've dropped that. And then they used something else. And the public went, look, mate, we're not having it. We're not interested. Digital ID, shove it up your derriere. Just don't do it in front of Keir Starmer. And now this morning, they're saying, so what we're going to do is we're going to have a People's Panel. It looks like a duck, waddles like a duck, and quacks like a duck. It's a fucking duck. It's a focus group. And you can front load them to make sure you can get any output from the focus group you want. Or there'll be people that don't want it, and there'll be people that do, and it'll be down to a majority. And Ferrari said, so what will the numbers be? Will 51-49 win it? And this Chief Secretary of the Prime Minister Ferrari was on top of his game this morning. You won't read this anywhere in the newspapers. It's all going to be about Mandy. It's a good day to bury bad news. So they've shoveled all the shit Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So Thursday morning's press, it's just going to be about Mandy and Epstein. And everybody going, oh, paedophile, oh, paedophile, oh, paedophile. No, Jeffrey Epstein. Because you now just use Epstein, the name, and everybody recalls in exactly the same manner. But they've done it on purpose. It's a good day to bury bad news. So, just step back for a second. A political figure with deep international connections, a meeting between a government leadership, Prime Minister, and a powerful intelligence technology company, and a geopolitical world where wars are increasingly fought not just with missiles, but with algorithms, drones, computers. Shall we play a game? See, that already a bigger landscape. And it raises a philosophical question more than a political one, because democracies are built on the idea that power flows from the people. But in the 21st century, or is it the 22nd now, the real strategic asset is information. The info wars. God, where have I heard that before? And information lives inside databases controlled by someone, governments, corporations, or sometimes partnerships between the two. So the real question tonight isn't simply about Peter Mandelson. It's about the architecture of power in the digital age. Who sees the data, who controls the systems, and who ultimately decides how those systems are used. Because the future of politics may not be written in parliamentary chambers. It might just be written in code. So let me be clear about one thing. I'm going to get into what happened with the Justice Bill last night. So one correction first. The bill has already cleared its second reading in the Commons. That was the big vote last night. The 300 and odd, the ayes. Oh, aye. We're all from the northeast. That was the big vote last night. The next step is committee stage, where they'll scrutinise the bill. Not a repeat of the same first vote. It returns for report stage and a third reading, and only then does it go to the Lords. Mandy Mandelson. Parliament's programme motion says the Public Bill Committee must finish by the 28th of April 2026. So what happened last night? The Courts and Tribunals Bill, that's what it was called. The Court and Tribunals Bill passed its second reading by 304 votes to 203. That's a government majority of 101. And before that, MPs rejected a reasoned amendment intended to block the bill by 311 to 203. Now, wasn't there some Labour MPs defected to the Tories or to the right and voted with the Tories? And then there were 86 abstentions, which nobody's talking about. 86 Labour MPs that abstained. Why the bloody hell would they abstain? Because this bill would create a new Crown Court bench division for cases with a likely custodial sentence of up to 3 years, heard by a judge sitting alone. I mean, what's he going to do? The judge could just sit there tenderising his steak for his dinner. Or as it's known in my house, beating his meat. So while the government says the gravest offences, including obviously murder and manslaughter and rape and robbery, GBH with intent, would remain jury cases. So the main takeaway from what happened last night in Parliament, Liability Lammy won the vote, but politically he took a hit. The government got the bill through, but the size of Labour's unease is the real story. Sky reported 10 Labour MPs voted against and 90 Labour MPs had no vote recorded. Was there 90 of them abstaining? Jesus. So not every no-show was an act of abstention, but party managers were also reportedly not forcing attendance, which matters because it suggests Labour wanted to avoid a full-scale public bloodbath. The rebellion was softened by a late deal. Carl Turner, the lead rebel figure, abstained rather than voting against after the government agreed to put an opponent of the plans on the bill committee and to publish further material, including impact work on backlogs. Turner then said after the vote that his opposition was stronger than ever and that he believes there are numbers to amend out the worst parts of the bill later. That tells you the war is not over. It's just moved trench. And the government's whole case is just simply the backlog. Liability Lammy's argument was blunt. The court's backlog is now 80,000 cases. Victims are being worn down, and without reform, the backlog could rise dramatically over the next decade. That's reform, not Reform UK, you're wrong. Supporters say the bench division could cut hearing time by around 20% and save thousands of sitting days. It's a massive, massive story. The opposition is broad, not niche. The Conservatives, Liberal Democrats, Reform UK, Greens and others all voted against. More than 3,200 lawyers also wrote to the Prime Minister urging him to rethink the plan. They're going to lose a shit ton of money. Oh, sorry, did I say that out loud?
It's all about the Benjamins.
At the constitutional level, critics say it chips away at one of the oldest protections in English justice. At the political level, it exposes a split inside Labour between the machine and the conscience. So the 6 biggest points out of last night. The bill passed its second reading, 304 to 203. It would create judge-alone trials for cases with a likely sentence of up to 3 years. The government says it is needed to tackle an 80,000 case backlog and prevent worse delays. 10 Labour MPs voted against and 90 had no vote recorded. The next battle is at committee stage, with scrutiny due to finish 28th of April. So let's leave Westminster to its own devices for a moment, because whilst Britain debates the structure of justice, the Middle East is confronting something far more dramatic. The sudden death of a supreme leader. You don't get more sudden than a bomb coming through your window. In Iran, the clerical regime has moved quickly to install a new figure at the top of the system. Now, there is some, as I said in Monday night's live, there are some people that are saying, yeah, we got a new supreme leader. And others are going, no, he's just had his legs blown off. He's in a bad way. Now, history tells us that moments like this are rarely as simple as they appear. And the first thing you do, if you want to show the people that you're not dead, stiff, no more, you do a Putin, you get out and ride a horse around the place. Or you just kind of stand on a balcony and wave. Can't say it's AI, but you show the people that you're still alive and their leader. And has he done that? No. So I'm really unsure as to whether the power sits with one person or if it's still spread between clerics and military commanders and the shadow networks of the Revolutionary Guard. So the question tonight isn't just who the new leader is, it's whether he actually controls the machinery of power. And in a region already on the edge, that question matters enormously. So let's get to, I don't know why that's stopped. Enver says it's civil cases creating the backlog. These changes won't do anything about the backlog. Good point, Enver. The old Bovril says it's in the Magna Carta, so legally the government has to ask the people if that can be amended. They'll just lie. They're doing government by focus groups, the People's Panel. EMC Squared says Maurice Glassman, Baron Glassman will instruct his fellow lords to vote against the bill when it reaches House of Lords. So it's not going to make its way safely. Des Ashton says, who gives a flying? In the field, horse riding is very popular in Manchester these days. That's very good. The Bovril, he is currently in a coma. Induced? Or just because he's had his leg blown off? Because can you imagine the instability in Iran if the supreme leader is no more? He was bombed to smithereens. It's a town just north of Tehran. And his son takes over. They elect him. They bomb him within hours of him becoming supreme leader. They'd be like, who wants to be supreme leader? Not me. What do you mean? Not you? We'll choose you, Fred. Fred, you can be the supreme leader. Hide away and shite. I'm not having that, man. There'll be a bloody exocet coming through my window. No, you can all hide away and shite. I'm not interested. I'll be like friend of the supreme leader, but I'm not being supreme leader. Albert Makeoff, stop making me laugh, you're wrong. Can Iran even watch TV or the internet at the moment? Not sure, Comic Mania. But I will tell you, the reason why I stumbled over Iran is because when I was in Turkey, there is a drink in Turkey called Iran. And it's one of those, kefir? Do you know kefir? It's one of those probiotic drinks for your gut. It's very good for gut health. And the Turks drink this Iran, and it's as sour as, literally, I could have sucked my jockeys up my derriere. My cheek was so parsed. Is it pursed or parsed? Lionel says, I heard that the leader's in a coma. You should try drinking that bloody drink in Turkey. God, blimey. I walked like John Wayne for 3 days. Iran, no TV, no radio, no internet. So how's the new leader going to throw himself with B-52s flying over? Oh, sorry, show himself with B-52s flying over. Wave a flag. Supreme leader is here. He might have a striped top on with glasses and a beanie. Did they used a pick to swear him in? Jesus, can you imagine? Ian McGee, can you imagine? Right, the lads, it's a Monty Python sketch. The lads have chosen, he's the Messiah. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. We call him Hop Along now. And can you imagine? They're all like, who are going to choose as supreme leader? You're not choosing me. I might be a very naughty boy, and I'm definitely not coming out. So you can all Foxtrot Oscar. I'm not being the supreme leader. I'll go on just for a couple of days, just so we can see we've got a new supreme leader. The orange man's going to go, right, lads, are we ready? Which button do I press to kill the supreme leader of Iran? That one. Let's have some more voting. Let me find my... Right. Question. Should the right to trial by jury ever be reduced to speed up the courts? Real simple question. 1 for yes, 2 for no. 3, only in limited cases. So should the right to trial by jury ever be reduced to speed up the courts? 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for only in limited cases. So let me have, oh, blimey. Interesting. Barry White and Matthew Whedon, I think you were the only two in certain cases. Oh, brilliant, Tom Warney's. The Supreme Leader was found smoking around the back. New Supreme Leader has shares in a company in the Isle of Man, says Grivo. And seemingly, I worked in Knightsbridge when I was working for Fired, so I know that houses there are worth an awful lot of money. But isn't there is it called Bishop's Avenue in North London, that seemingly the houses there are like the most expensive houses in London? And the new Supreme Leader's got a couple of houses on Bishop's Avenue. How does that work then? So he's buying property in London while he's in Iran. So they've got properties in one of the most expensive cities on planet Earth. Gribbo says 2, not a chance. So Enver, I see you, and Des. Gribbo, Matthew Wheaton, says 3. E equals MC squared says at Gribbo, the new Supreme Leader owns 18 properties in Knightsbridge. Where do they get the money from? Oh, but that'd be the $6 billion that they got from President Skidmark. Because remember, the Iranians let some hostages go. I think it was one hostage. And the American government, President Skidmark, gave them $6 billion for letting them go. So what did they spend that on? A bit like Sniffy. All the billions that have been laundered through Ukraine. He owns half of Eilat now. So Reg D and Lionel and Paul West and Stephen Hall, Barry Wright, Tom Harney's, Comic Mania, Big Paul, Oval Raw, Catwoman Jones, Paul Morton, Gary Shabot. 2. That's no. I think I'll ask one more question. Do you believe Iran's new Supreme Leader actually holds real power? And before I want you to vote, I want you to just listen to the noise. Listen to the newspapers. Listen to the news channels, the news program, the news bulletins, the newspapers. All the noise that they're creating about it's war, it's World War III. And I told you weeks ago, it's not bloody World War III. It's not even a war. It might be kind of a conflict. But as I keep saying, and some people complain that I keep saying it, but I'm the only person on planet Earth that's telling you this, they're after the central bank. So they're going to keep bombing the shit out of Iran until they start waving the white flag and go, right, I'm leaving to go to my properties in Knightsbridge. So do you believe Iran's new Supreme Leader actually holds real power? 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for the military does. So Des and Karina and Paul Morton, Comic Mania, Albert Metcalf, Garen Davis, Napoleon Blown Apart and Reg D and Amalia, Kenman, the Bad Wolf Project, average house price in the Bishop's Avenue, 6.8 million. Bugger me. Obviously, that's just for the granny annex. Pauline Makepeace says 3. Gary Shabot says 2. Lewis says 1. Do you believe? Ooh, interesting. Barry Wright says 3 and Lionel and Paul West. So it's a real mixed bag. I would say 60% don't believe, maybe 10% do believe, and the rest are all thinking the military does. Big Paul says 2, not even in his own big house. Comic Mania, Alison, Tom Harney. Thank you for all of your votes this evening. I'm going to test your faith now. I want to see whether you've thought things through, whether you've been observant and you've listened and you kind of get the zeitgeist, you get what's going on and you can see through, as I've said to you many times, what's the first casualty of war? The truth. And these missions are to drag you through the fog of war and bring you to my side, which is clarity, the clearing. So I'm going to ask you quite a tricky question. Could the current conflict in the Middle East expand into a wider regional war? Take your time. 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 unlikely but possible. Could the current conflict in the Middle East expand into a wider regional war? 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 unlikely but possible. God, I love you so much. Comic Mania, possibly, as does Lewis. But, well, Gribbo says temporary spike only, 3. Garen Davis and Des, Reg D, Matt Whedon, Dave Warrington says 3 and Matt Whedon says yes. But Reg D, Hugh Bovril, Karina, Paul West. Well, there's quite a few 3s. So, hang on, let me go back up. Could the current conflict in the Middle East expand into a wider regional war? 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 unlikely, but possible. That's why we're getting a whole load of 3s. But Hugh Bovril and Karina and Paul West. Big Paul says something interesting. 1, only if they want it to. So, look, Trump went into Venezuela, kidnapped the president, and took all the oil reserves. He's now flogging it to Russia and anybody that will take it, including China. But Iran, so Venezuela's central bank is now under American control. The Iranian central bank is where they want it. Now, seemingly, I saw something, and I did my own research. Somebody online was saying, oh, yeah, they've got all this gold buried underground, like hundreds of billions of dollars worth of gold underground, and that's why Donald Trump invaded. And the more research I did, the more I found out that that was just Rolex. So I've been telling you. So there were 8 central banks: Syria, Iraq, Venezuela, and Iran. There's 4 gone. So who were the 4 left? Hang on. I'm enumerate. I can't count. Russia, China, Hungary, North Korea. So have you noticed over the last 3 or 4 days, Kim Jong-un has appeared in the newspapers, and now they're talking about North Korea. These people are not hanging about. The Rothschilds are not hanging about because they've got to get it all done by 2030. All of it. There's Putin coming out, wanting to do deal with the Donald. So North Korea, I doubt Russia's going to get involved. China's got to have economic collapse. And maybe they're leaving Hungary to last. But I was saying to you 3 years ago, Syria and Iraq had just fallen. The other 6 hadn't been touched. And now Venezuela and Iran are down. They're talking North Korea next. That would leave 3 when there was 8 3-4 years ago. And I'm sure when I say these things, it's only, I'd like to believe that's how I've earned your trust. Because I've just hung myself out to dry almost and gone, I'm going to tell you this. And my reputation with nearly 50 years in media, my integrity is straight up and down. I don't bullshit you. I don't do anything other than I am in service of you, your family, and your community. And that's why I say these are not shows. This is a mission. 299 of them so far, 300 on Sunday. Well, I'm going to ask you a quick question. If you're in the body of the Kirk tonight, please smash the like so we can get it over 100. I really do appreciate that. But do you want a quiz on Sunday? It doesn't get the audience that this kind of stuff does, or the same audience. We'll see. We'll see. Lewis wants a quiz. The U Bovril says it's Mission Possible. Oh, bloody hell. Yes, music quiz, Napoleon blown apart. Put it to the jury. Okay. Do you want a quiz on Sunday night? I might do half and half. Do you want a quiz on Sunday night? I'll try and work something out. Napoleon blown apart wants a music quiz. Tom Harney's, no! Reg D, no! Matthew Whedon, usual stuff, please. Karina, oh, yes. Catwoman Jones, no. Napoleon blown apart, yes. Albert Metcalf, yes. Oh, it's 50-50. So trust me and leave it with me. I'll think of something entertaining for you. It might be it might be all let's all laugh at the Labour Party. Film quiz. Ooh. Gary Shabot. No. Les Griffiths. No. Nathan Diamond. Yes, don't mind. The Hugh Bovril. No. So it's kind of 50, half and half, says Comic Mania. Yeah, we'll do the usual stuff because I don't want you to miss anything. So we'll do the usual stuff and I'll think of something. Not that I'm a size queen at all, but I will think of something. Des Ashton. 2 twos. See what happens in the world between now and Sunday. Very good point, Enver. Very good point. What about an Ask Alexa? That would be fun. Jesus, Stuart, it'd get us into trouble, man. Can you imagine? We can't even get the word Jägermeister or Jägerbomb. Is it the word bomb that you're trying to put on in the chat? No, the bloody wonder you can't get that in the chat. They'll think you're a bloody terrorist, man. Or an Iranian, one of the two. What's up with the poobers saying that? Oh, you see, you've upset Amalia now. Why wouldn't you want a break from the old routine? The world will wait. We'll try and make something entertaining for Sunday evening. I'm going to make all my announcements on Sunday because I was, do you know? So I was sitting there earlier today. I'm going to fly a kite now. I was sitting there earlier today, and I was thinking, I can ask anybody on the channel. I literally can ask anybody. It's just in the way that you deliver it and the angles that you deliver with it, the question. So I thought, should I get Paul McCartney on? Because I guarantee you, I would do a completely an interview that like nobody else has done with him, and he's done millions of them. So I'm just, and you'll see why I've said that on Sunday when I make announcements as to what I'm going to do. There you go, Enver. Jägermeister. Stuart, you're putting the wrong bit in the chat. You can get Jägermeister in, you just can't get boom in. Right, okay, Stuart. Yeah, you can't say the B word. Stuart. Oh, there you go, Stuart. It's just you. It must be, well, it's where you are in Dublin. You can't mention the B word in Dublin. Jesus H. I mean, Jerry Adams has been in. I might do a video on Adams tomorrow. Amalia, please don't. Can't stand the man. Like I say, it wouldn't be your ordinary interview, Amalia. Wait and see. Anything could happen in the next half hour. Oh, what a TV show that was. Anyway, what else have I got for you? I was going to do the leadership situation in Iran, but I think we've kind of done that. But I just want to say this about the power reality in Iran. And let me just sort of encapsulate it all. The newspapers are desperate for war. Desperate. All the news channels, the news shows, the newspapers, everything. They just want war. They're not going to get it, in my view, because this is not war. It's conflict, yes. And the people within Iran are complaining that the ground's shaking and moving. But even with the supreme leader named, real power in Iran sits across three centres: the Revolutionary Guard, the IRGC, the clerical establishment, and the security apparatus. So in wartime, the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard, often becomes the dominant force. So analysts believe the structure right now is less single leader and more collective security state. So I'm sure the question you're asking is why these rumours about injuries keep appearing. There'll be two reasons. The new leader is extremely private, hopping mad from what I can gather, and Iran tightly controls information during war. But I've just said it's not war, it's conflict, it's not war. Because remember, they were lobbing drones into Israel and into Lebanon and and nobody is talking. There's one word. Now, as I say, I'm a cynical old tart. So the news, the reportage about the Red Sea and the Houthis bombing the ships in the Red Sea, I was like, nah, that's not the Houthis. No, there's a rabbit away here. I don't know what it is yet, but there's a rabbit away here. And all of a sudden, the Strait of Hormuz, they're saying the Iranians are doing this and that, and the 16 mine-laying warships are being blown to smithereens by the Americans. Not one single mention of the Houthis. Yet when it was the Houthis, they were being backed by Iran. And yet when Iran's fighting the war, the Houthis have buggered off, said a spokesperson. Just keep watching the news, because the Houthis, in my view, the only reason they were being used as a propaganda tool is because they want to start building the Ben Gurion Canal in the Gaza Strip, from the Red Sea through the desert in Israel out into the East Mediterranean. And people will stop using the Suez Canal because the Ben Gurion Canal will be built on stone, not sand. And then there's this energy debacle. I did say to you, look, price of a barrel of oil went up to $120, and then Trump went and said, don't worry, it'll be it'll all be over in a couple of days. And everybody went, whew, down to $85 within hours. I mean, overnight it went to 120, back down to 85 by the time I got out of bed. That's not conflict or war. That is simply profiteering by the oil companies, trading oil at a certain standard. And I said to you, the price of a litre of fuel at the pumps, they're increasing the profit margin on that fuel at the pumps. And they've not even taken a new delivery yet. So they bought it at one price. Oh, there's conflict in Iran. Oh, 20 million barrels of oil a day passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Oh, we're in the shite, so we'll just increase the price. I told you on Monday, or was it yesterday, rockets and feathers. Goes up like a rocket, comes back down like a feather. But here's the rub, the real truth. When I was in Turkey, a litre of petrol would cost you 59 Turkish lira. That's equivalent to 90 odd p per litre. And when I came back, it was nearly 40p more expensive in this country. So who's shafting who? So let's go and buy the Turkish fuel because it'll work in our cars. Let's just go and buy it in bulk, bring it across, and we'll start a price war. I won't get into the Strait of Hormuz this late. In the field, I'll give it to my local Tesco. Still not put fuel price up as of yesterday. Napoleon blown apart. Don't forget, 63% goes to the government for petrol taxes. I know they were trying to get them at fuel duty at PMQs earlier today. But I will tell you that in amongst all of this, the newspapers are not reporting this one fact. There is an emergency oil release. The International Energy Agency is coordinating one of the largest strategic oil releases ever attempted. So the goal is to stabilize the global markets, to prevent panic buying. As I've said to you in my, I don't know whether you call it the Decoded Daily. That's something we're going to do more and more and more of as we get towards the end of March. Decoded Daily, I'm just going to make sense of all the brown stuff, the BS, the hot air that tends to be reported, because the newspapers were, as I say, the newspapers would get a photographer down to the local petrol station and there'd be a queue at the local petrol station. So they wouldn't be reporting on panic buying. they would be reporting that there was a queue. So all of a sudden, the story isn't panic buying. The story is there's queues at petrol stations. And then everybody reading that story thinks, ooh, maybe I should just get down there because, well, like the loo rolls, the bog rolls in lockdown, those intellectual pygmies. I mean, how full of shit must they be to buy all those bog rolls? They were buying like 10 years worth, thinking they were clever. But people do weird things under pressure. So the International Energy Agency, the goal is stabilize the markets, prevent panic buying, and keep fuel prices from exploding during the conflict. In other words, stop the profiteering, stop the idiots, stop the morons, stop the intellectual pygmies. So strategic reserves exist precisely for moments like this. But Venezuela hasn't got any anymore. They had the biggest strategic reserves in the world anywhere. And the Donald went in for them. And the strategic reserves exist precisely for moments like this, when geopolitical conflict threatens to choke off supply. Security analysts are also saying that the conflict could involve cyber attacks. Remember the boats that went into bridges, intelligence gathering networks, Five Eyes, digital warfare targeting infrastructure. I mean, there's the cheeky Israelis. I mean, they were giving out all those can't think of the word, pages. So they gave out all these free pages, and then they pressed the button and they all started exploding in Palestinian pockets. Bad Wolf Project. Fuel here in France went up by 26 cents a litre this weekend. It will be back down by 25 cents a litre after everyone panic bought local supermarket 3-hour queues on Monday. Jesus, man. In the Field says, is Red Adair still alive? He'll be needed over the Middle East soon enough. No, Red died a long while ago. Des Ashton says, open up the North Sea, closed as unprofitable, reserves must be well in margin by now, and then invest in new exploration and production. It's that bloody Miliband, Ed Millipede. He's just... So, we're closing the North Sea oil fields down, and we're buying our oil and gas or our energy from Norway, who's drilling in the North Sea. Because you know that whomever drills in the North Sea and strikes oil, it's not where it is in the North Sea as to who it belongs to, it's where you bring it ashore. So that's why I've told you quite a few times, there is a pipeline from the North Sea where it brings the oil ashore in Aberdeen, I think. But there's also a pipeline that is there in case the Scots get a bit cheeky. It's there to bring the oil ashore in Hartlepool. So the metaphorical switch under the sea. So that if the Scots get a bit rebellious, Edward Heath made sure this happened, they'll just flick the switch in the North Sea and the oil will come ashore in Hartlepool. So it belongs to the English. So I think we'll leave it there. My sister spends a fortune on petrol every week. She needs her car for her job, drives all over the country. I know, Stuart, it's just remember this. When they're talking about fuel prices, economy crisis, any kind of financial crisis that affects you, your family, and your community, whether it's for food, the price of fuel, the price of utilities, they want you to own nothing and be happy. So you'll go out, work, and everything will be via subscription. And the state will look after you. Yeah, right. And that's the whole game. They want you to have nothing, own nothing, be nothing. They'll take all the nice steaks and holidays, and you will own nothing and be happy. And that's why they're making things really tight now, so that you have no savings, you're your inheritance, whether it's from parents or grandparents, is not going to last long, so that you don't have the financial wherewithal to be able to do whatever you want. Crypto, they're not going to let anybody get rich. Well, not very many, unless it's BlackRock, and BlackRock are wobbling. BlackRock are saying, oh, you can't take this money out. No, well, that's why when there was a run on the building societies and banks a few years ago in this country, the government then guaranteed up to £85,000 in any one bank account. The government guarantees it. The banks don't. The bank's only job is to make money out of nothing. Thank you, Stuart. Appreciate that. Excellent mission this evening. Thank you, Stuart. So let's just let's call it a day tonight. As I say for every mission, give me 90 minutes and I'll give you the world. I think we've decoded enough tonight. But tomorrow, oi, it's going to kick off big time. Just look at the newspapers. They're after Starmer. Everybody's had enough of him. They're after Starmer. He's going to have to resign because his judgment is faltered. His judgment is lacking. He might be a bright guy, but Prime Minister material? How do we in shame, man? So thank you for your likes. Smash the likes if you haven't already, please. Thank you for your likes, your subscriptions, but most of all, your indulgence. My name's Adrian Allen. Look after yourself. Be safe. Be well. Don't forget your emergency Battenberg. Always comes in handy. And the altar wine, just not while you're driving. And I shall see you Sunday. Mission 300. Wow. Let's have a bit of fun. Mission 300. And remember, this is never a show. It's always a mission. And the mission continues. 7:15 for the parish notes on Sunday. 7:30 for the live proper. And thank you for being here and supporting the channel tonight. Really do appreciate it. See you Sunday. 7:15, then 7:30 real.